What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Happy 2024, and it looks like Bitcoin is starting off the year right, breaking its yearly high and cracking that $45,000 level. So in today's video, guys, I kind of want to touch base as I have taken a little bit of time off last week. I just want to make this quick update to fill you guys in on what has happened with Bitcoin, where we are sitting right now, some of those key levels of resistance that we came up to tap, and I also want to talk about the likelihood of potentially coming up a little bit higher, hitting our golden target of $48,000 to $50,000. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the charts and start breaking down this saucy price action as the bulls are rearing their heads, starting this new year off on the right foot. Let's get into it. So as you guys can see here, Bitcoin has cracked its yearly high, sitting at about $44,729, and we have gotten a move above this level, and we actually have come up and tapped some pretty key levels of resistance above, but we'll get into those levels in just a second. But before we jump into the lower term price action, guys, I just want to give you a little bit more of a zoomed out view and a little bit more of a macro update on price as we're starting a new trading year, and it's been a few days since we last spoke. So as you guys know, we've been waiting for this volume profile range to get completely filled up to the value area high, which does wind up sitting here at about $48,700. Now, this is based off simple volume profile theory, where you expect to potentially crack over a previous value area high, flip that level to support, visit the POC, flip that level to support, and eventually come up and visit the value area high. So just like in 2023, my local targets are remaining about the same, looking for price to finally fill the rest of this volume profile and come up and smack this target up here at 48 to 50K, where not only we have a macro value area high, but we also have the macro golden pocket. But in order to get there, guys, we had to do something very, very specific and very important, and that was breaking our yearly high sitting here at $44,729. Now, as you can see, we have cracked this level, and we are potentially looking to come back and retest it as support before potentially getting another move to the upside. So before I move in and talk to you guys about kind of how I'm handling this from a trading perspective and kind of what my trading plan is, I want to talk about the key levels that we actually rejected up here because we were looking for something very specific to happen, and we almost got this to play out perfectly. Now, as we were looking at this yearly high at about $44,729, we were expecting a lot of liquidity to be sitting above this yearly high, making it very likely that if we crack this level, we would cause a cascade of liquidations, giving price an aggressive push to the upside. Now, there was a very key level we were looking at up here to run into before getting a rejection, and that level was the $46,000 NPOC. Now, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was feeling pretty crazy calling for these levels not too long ago because we did take a very long time to eventually break this high, but as you guys know, one of those next major targets we were looking at was the $46,000 NPOC, sitting technically at $45,974. And if we pull up the liquidation heat map, guys, you can see we indeed did have that concentration of liquidations sitting right up here between 45.1 and coming all the way up to about $46,000. Now, this is part of the reason why I had some of my targets set at higher prices for Bitcoin, and that is not only the fact that we had the naked point of control up here, which, remember, guys, we talk about this on the live stream constantly. These NPOCs oftentimes act as magnets for price, sucking the price into these levels. So not only were we expecting the NPOC to act as a magnet, but we also knew that we had a lot of liquidity sitting above these highs, which would likely cause a cascade of liquidations, giving us a quick, aggressive move into this level where we would be looking for some short entries. Now, I do want to be very, very clear with you guys. This is not that end-all, be-all short level that I've been looking at, but this was the next major level of resistance that I was keeping my eyes on for some kind of a pullback. And you guys can see we are indeed rejecting this level pretty nicely, but with some of the medium time frames on Market Cypher B looking like they may be locked and loaded for another leg up, I do have some higher targets I'm looking at for a more sound and high probability short setup, and we're going to talk about that right now. So we broke the yearly highs, super exciting. We took all the liquidity sitting above those highs as we expected, and you guys can see on the heat map, price did come up and grab that liquidity just as we wanted to see. But again, you can see our next hotspot of liquidity is sitting up here closer to 48K, which is very interesting, being that our next key levels are sitting between about 47,127 and about 48 to 50K. So if we are able to get another move up and break our current highs right now, I will be looking up towards that high volume node sitting at $47,127, as well as that major macro target of 48 to 50K. So to be honest, guys, moving into the new year, my trading plan almost remains exactly the same as it was at the end of 2023, and we are just simply seeing things play out as we've been looking for on my live stream, where we got sucked up to that naked point of control as expected, and we are hoping to potentially get another push up into this high volume node, eventually filling our macro volume profile. Remember, if you guys are ever feeling lost in the market, clean up your chart and just look at the macro levels. And again, even if we weren't looking at any local analysis here, I would still be anticipating a potential push up into this golden pocket. The only reason I would potentially look for a front run of this level would just be because at this point, now everybody is looking for that 48 to 50K level. So maybe we just front run it a little bit, which is why we're being careful around these local levels of resistance that we just had up on the chart at about $47,127. And again, the top of the range / macro golden pocket between 48 to 50K. But there is one more level that I am looking at for a potential rejection, and I also want to talk about exactly what I'll be looking at for a rejection at this level, and that resistance is sitting right here at about $46,214. Now, this is very, very close to our $46,000 MPOC, and this is simply a yearly level of horizontal resistance. So, kind of what I'm looking for here, guys, getting more into what I'll be looking at if we do get another push up. If we get this push to the upside, I will be looking to take the highs and then potentially put in some nice bearish divergences on time frames such as the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 3 hour, and not as likely in my opinion, but maybe even potentially the 4 hour. But if we want to see this play out on the 4 hour, we're going to need to get a little bit more of a push to the downside, in my opinion. But essentially, if we do get this next push to the upside, guys, I will be looking for bearish divergences on these medium time frames, getting those higher highs on our price action with lower highs on our momentum waves, giving us that bearish divergence we like to see before looking for short entries and a potential rejection back to the downside. Now, before I let you guys go, I do just want to let you know that even if we do push up into these levels, I am still being very cautious with the shorts, really only looking for a bigger short position or more of a swing short position. For this to happen, I am still sitting on my hands, hoping to potentially get a move up to that 48 to 50K value area high macro golden pocket. This would be the area where I'd be more comfortable taking more of a swing short position with higher capital, and I would be willing to potentially even add to that position as we squeak up above that level and deviate from the macro volume profile, keeping the general volume profile theory intact, where if we wind up deviating above the high, this is where you're looking at Bitcoin as potentially overbought, looking for a reversal back into the range for a potential correction down to lower prices. Now, that does not mean that we cannot continue up. We could easily come up into these levels and get a bigger move to the upside, but in my opinion, this is going to still be the macro super strong level of resistance that I would be willing to take that swing short at. Until then, I am treating all my other short positions as scalps and almost expecting them to get stopped out. But the thing is, we have to take a shot at these entries in case we wind up front running this level. We do not want to miss out on the moves. So being very conservative with the shorts from these lower levels in anticipation of potentially getting a push into those next local levels of resistance and eventually that $48,000 to $50,000 level at the value area high macro golden pocket. And with all that being said, guys, I think that's all the time I got for today's market update. I just wanted to get on here and talk about Bitcoin breaking those yearly highs, as this has basically been what we've been waiting for. And, you know, you start calling for something for long enough, you start to feel a little bit crazy. So it's super validating to see Bitcoin finally break these highs and go for those higher prices. So trading plan remains the same, being very conservative with the shorts until we hit those higher up macro levels at 48 to 50K. And until then, we're taking small stabs at these shorts, making some profit on the way down before we wind up getting stopped out in profit. Because on the Frankie Candles YouTube channel, and for all the Candle Mafia, even when we get stopped out and lose a trade, we still make that bag. So with all that being said, Mafia, that's all the time I got for today's video. Happy 2024. Bitcoin's starting off the year right, so we can't complain about that. Super excited to get back to it with the Mafia and keep crushing this content and the trades alongside you guys. So with all that being said, that's all the time I got for this video. See you in the next one. Frankie Candles.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like